Welcome to TM Radio Broadcasting. My name is Frank Allen. We are live from Boston, Massachusetts. Today's date is Friday, November the 6th, 2023. If you'd like to call in and listen, you can dial +1 518 801 1318. If you'd like to call in with a question, dial +1 617 987 8603. Tonight, Sacha and I will be discussing the very difficult, awkward times between family members when one or more are targeted individuals. Over to you, Sacha.
Good evening, fellow citizens. On behalf of the Allen Institute for Human Rights, I'd like to reach out to all listeners, regular and new. As you know, we're a non-profit providing essential information and support relating to the abuses of advanced technology, gang stalking, neuroweapons, neurotoxins, and all of the phenomena of psychological terrorism that are currently being used against innocent civilians globally, and that's been going on for decades. The Allen Institute has coalesced untold papers and research papers, patents, to validate and give insight into the phenomena and menace our community have had to endure. We've interviewed hundreds of whistleblowers. And we need donations to maintain the NGO because it takes a lot of time and dedication. So if you can afford to give $5, £5 on a monthly basis, it would be amazing for us. If you can only afford a couple of dollars or a couple of pounds each month, that would also be amazing, because we want to keep the community alive with all of the latest information in this fight against our human rights and our neuro rights, and see if we can't help people that are going to be brought onto the program. We're the OGs now. So that being said, Francis, over to you, because tonight we're going to talk about our personal journeys, aren't we, into finding and validating what has happened to us.
Thank you, Sacha. What has happened to me since 2011 started with Voice to Skull, which is a technology that was discovered by Alan Frey when he was actually it wasn't even him, it was one of his assistants who was behind the radar unit. And at that particular point in time, he started hearing ticks and clicks behind the radar. Later on, they developed Voice to Skull with a grant.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm fascinated to have this conversation with you tonight, Frank, because I have so much respect for you. When you first started to experience Voice to Skull, you obviously knew that you weren't crazy. You knew that you could tell that the auditory and vibratory effect of the voices that you were hearing was completely different to actually hearing humans speaking. But you knew it was people that were messing with you. Tell me how you dealt with it,
Well,
how you managed to do.
In the very beginning, I couldn't come up with anything logical to explain what was happening, because I would hear this V2K like 75 feet up in the air, on the ground, in the refrigerator, everywhere.
It was like bouncing around. The sound was bouncing around.
No, they could place it.
Yeah,
Pinpoint
I've experienced that.
Yeah, they can pinpoint it and place it in one location and speak from that location.
Yeah. I used to think it was the acoustics in my flat that, because I could hear the voices so clearly, but they were so aggressive and so bass. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about me now. I want to know what you kind of went on a journey, didn't you, to find and prove that the technology existed. Tell me about that.
Believe it or not, the first thing I did was to find the community, and I did that by looking for a Target store. And
Oh,
I,
really?
yeah, and I saw the Target store that I was looking for, and underneath it, I saw targeted individuals with the
Mm.
initials FFCHS. Now, that was a targeted individual organization at the time. And I immediately started to listen to that particular podcast that acquainted me very much with what was going on.
The phenomena.
Exactly. And
Mm.
I got patents for the devices that were used. And I can read off some of those if you'd like.
Please do, because I find it so fascinating. It's terrifying as well, but fascinating.
Yes, they've been on our website for years, since probably 2016. But the first one, I'll make people go to our website. I'm not going to
Mhm.
give them the numbers. No. The first one is US 4877027. It is a hearing system. The
Mm.
second one, US patent number 4858612, hearing device. US patent number US 6011991, communication system and method including brainwave analysis and or use of same.
Francis, can I just interject? From the first patent, I've just looked at an abstract paragraph, which basically surmises sound is induced in the head of a person by radiating the head with microwaves in the range of 100 megahertz to 10,000 megahertz that are modulated with a particular waveform. The waveform consists of frequency modulated bursts. Each burst is made up of 10 to 20 unformally spaced pulses grouped tightly together. So it goes on to describe the burst width, but basically it's giving the complete breakdown of how it's possible to project human voices into somebody else's skull and therefore intimidate them in real time without anybody else hearing. Now, I think that is really pertinent to what you were wanting to share about the impact that that had on your family life. Can you tell me when you first started to experience that, how did it affect you psychologically? The pressure of it.
It's paranoia in the beginning because
Really?
I did not know that there were any others. So I
Mm.
got extremely paranoid, and I thought everyone in every store were trying to get me. And through logic and 2 to 3 months, I sorted out the fact that, okay, um, these people aren't in any way trying to hurt me or anything else.
Mm.
And so I pulled my car into a restaurant parking lot and proceeded
Mm.
to take it apart looking for bugs.
Mm.
Because at that time, you are looking for something physical. You are looking
Yeah.
for something tangible that you can put your hands on and say, okay, this is what's causing the problem. And
Mm.
obviously, I did not find that. I even called Boston field office of the FBI to ask them if they would do a sweep on my car. And they basically agreed until I started to go into some more detail. And then
Wow.
apparently they figured out that I was a target.
Mm, nightmare. When this was all going on, what happened within your family? You were happily married, weren't you?
Um, yes, there was total disintegration. My immediate family, everything just fell apart altogether.
They they just didn't believe you.
No,
They yeah,
it
nightmare. The same thing for me, you know.
yeah, it all goes back to that fact that they can look at you and talk with you, or they can hear you speak, and you sound fine, but something isn't right. And that's because you have voice to skull and you're dealing with this continually. And you're
Yeah.
continually going back and forth with this V2K while you're trying to hold a conversation with your family.
Well,
So,
it's that psychological terrorism, isn't it? You
oh,
know
yes,
that.
it is. It is most assuredly so.
Mm, terrible, absolutely terrible. But you managed to. I mean, I, I, I'm in so much respect for you because within a short space of time, it would seem to me. Tell me about the time frame. How long did it take you to get your shit together and start going on the detective and get this NGO started? You know, how long did it take you?
It's taken me, I was on the ball immediately
Hmm.
doing research. That's all I did every day. I did research,
Amazing.
more
Hmm.
research. I started in Facebook with a page in a group, and
Hmm.
I started a small conference call. It was on Friday nights. This is after listening to other conference calls
Hmm.
for about a year.
Hmm.
That's before I even opened my mouth. And
Wow.
then I did most of Tesla's experiments because I could see somehow that this was linked to his work.
Hmm.
I developed a sustained EMP unit, which is an electromagnetic pulse. It's a sustained unit. It gives out the pulses. In other words, instead of one flash, like your average EMP, this
Hmm.
is a regulated number of bursts. And I
Hmm.
could kill a phone, I could kill just about anything with it. I still have
Oh,
it.
wow. Oh, really?
Oh,
That's
yes.
interesting.
Yes, it is.
Oh, wow. Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
never knew you were packing an EMP, mate.
Yep.
How exciting. I want one.
We can make you one. Actually, it's probably the most simple electronic device to make. All you need is a power
Wow.
source, a spark gap with tungsten electrodes, and it's about it. And then you,
Wow.
you have to make the wand. The wand I actually made, and I I poured a epoxy mold,
Hmm.
and I had the leads coming out of that, and so it's a handheld. It looks like a mirror with no glass in it, only a lot smaller. It is 6 centimeters in diameter. I believe that's
Oh,
the
wow.
inside diameter.
And then you got more and more kit. You decided to make the radio station, so you got all of the
Oh,
professional.
but many years have gone by. Um, I went to Washington once myself. Then I went to Washington with Targeted Justice. I believe that
Uh-huh.
was 2018. I could be mistaken, but I believe that's it. And I just made my presence known wherever I could around Boston, everywhere, South Shore, North Shore, everywhere. And
Mm.
I talked to people, I talked to TIs. That's one thing that I didn't mention. I've talked to hundreds or thousands of TIs at this point in time.
You're so lucky. I didn't know. It took me a long time to meet the TI community. I met a soldier when I was in Thailand. A friend introduced me, and he was a whistleblower, and he'd been like really attacked by the powers that be, but obviously people from the military. Oh, just reading through that list of all of the patents that you coalesced, Frank, the thing that really struck me was the remotely monitoring and altering brainwaves application. And because I've experienced that, I suppose we've all experienced the people around us, their behavior changing. So, one of the most painful parts of my targeting um, was my daughter went from loving me and understanding to a certain degree what had forced me to leave the country and leave her, which was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. You know, it was just gut wrenching and on a consistent basis. But it was to see the difference in her eyes, and she went from loving me to being annoyed and irascible. The smallest thing that I would say could be turned into something big and phenomenal. And now she doesn't speak to me at all. And I think just to see that for me, that the remotely monitoring, whether it was possible back then. And I think about how my behavior changed when I was when this situation was brewing up for me, because I was introduced to the program by my own father. He wanted to modify my behavior because he thought that I was too wild, and he thought it would be good to break me psychologically and then remake me. And so he got a medical company that have affiliations, they're medical and they're military, and that's in their website. um, and it's a complete fluke that I found out who this company were. But yeah, they set about destabilizing me, and I started to get really nervous, and I was just stripped of all of my confidence and chutzpah, you know. And it's amazing now, all of these years later, I've done so much personal development with my own mind, but obviously, I was still am affected by this technology sometimes, and it's amazing for me to. I find it very reassuring. I think everybody who's targeted should have a look at these patents and understand what is possible. Do you not agree, Frank?
Oh, most definitely.
What were
If
you doing then? It was a bit of a delay. It was a bit of a satellite delay.
well, actually, I had
Pay
my
attention, darling.
yeah, I had myself on mute, and I was getting ready to type a note to you.
Oh, what we'll say Q,
Yeah,
Q.
yeah, a cue. That's right. All right. Do you want to go into any more of those patents? We're still recording.
Oh, let's have a look and see what other patents are on there, because hang on, I'm pulling it up on my other iPad here. What about you, Francis? Have a quick look because you've got them at your disposal right
Uh,
immediately.
Thought transmission unit sends modulated electromagnetic wave beams to the person's skull. And would you
Oh,
like?
so is this to control body movements and shit like that?
Let's see what it
Um,
says. They have the inventors right down here. Who invented it? Who asked for it?
Tell me that. I'm interested to know who asked for that. Was it CIA?
No. Actually, the assignee was Hannah Simon.
Mm-hmm.
It was publication date was upgraded 2022 January.
Oh, that's this is so up to date. My God.
Well, once you go to the
Oh, you click on it, then it's got all of the applications as
right,
they get refreshed.
all
So
all updated and refreshed. Correct.
so I'm now looking at the auditory subliminal message system and methods. Same. Yeah, I'm terrifying if people are unaware, which they are, that this technology exists. I notice a difference. My behavior has definitely been modified because the only way when I was targeted and it was just relentless, voice to skull throughout the day, throughout the night. I mean, literally terrorized and gang stalked and poisoned. It was a white knuckle ride. Um, and I developed the ability to meditate, and my mind was so fast. So I subtracted the frenetic thinking for symbology, but I really went forward as a person. I did my own brain entrainment, I did my own mind development. So they were working their system against me, and I managed to find my spiritual self and lock it into a discipline that helped me to ignore them and keep myself grounded, even though, like sometimes when I was talking to people, I seemed so nervous and skittish, and, because same as you, Frank, I was being terrorized by these people. They were threatening me. They were um, uh, engaging in sexual activity with me. It's just so terrifying.
Yeah,
And mm,
there are
uh, uh,
various reasons why they do that, and one of them is they're perverts. I mean, they totally are. There's no
oh,
question
well,
about it.
actually, it's a pertinent point that I need to bring up, and it's something that I've always wanted to share with people who are targeted, because you always say, why? Why would anybody do this to another individual? Because what we're experiencing, we are guinea pigs. When you harass somebody and threaten them, the more severe and base it is, it elicits. Remember, when you're targeted, all of your systems are hooked up to a computer, so they can read your respiratory system, your heart rate, all systolic systems and your emotional line. And what they want to do is get a spike in your emotional line, because when they get that yellow line to spike, it makes the neurons in your brain light up, because all of the data that's collected goes into computational brain science. And that brain science is therefore able to predict our behaviors of what we're going to do in conjunction with the physiological. So this is one of the most lucrative areas of science and finance that I can think of to the present day, because it's basically the AI systems that are being created are made from the blood and the tears of targeted individuals. So people should be aware of that.
Okay, Sasha, we have to go to commercial. And I
Okay.
just wanted to say that this is TM Radio Broadcasting. And my name is Frank Allen. And my co host is Sasha Suter. We'll go to our commercials now.
If
Okay.
you are interested in natural, alternative health and nutrition, look no further than Dr. Janet Starhall, a leading expert in the field with over 25 years of experience. After healing herself from a near fatal disease caused by aspartame, Dr. Hall has dedicated her work to helping others take control of their health and wellness through simple nutrition strategies and natural detoxification. Join Dr. Hull's private online community at janethull.com, JANETHULL.com, and gain access to her hair analysis program, her natural detoxification videos, her pH balance program, healthy recipes, a weekly live Q&A session, and special guest interviews. Receive support from a thriving community of like-minded individuals who share your passion for holistic health. Join her private online community today, where you can learn how to improve your health and wellness through natural, holistic practices.
Are you a targeted individual looking for support and connection? Look no further than TIEvents.org, the ultimate event site for targeted individuals worldwide. Discover a wide range of upcoming events, from conferences and meetups to rallies and fundraisers. Connect with like-minded individuals, participate in informative conference calls, and explore a wealth of resources. Visit TIEvents.org today and join a thriving community of targeted individuals. Together, we can make a difference. TIEvents.org, empowering targeted individuals worldwide.
Welcome back to TM
Hey.
Radio Broadcasting. Hi, Sacha.
Hi, Francis. It's good to be here with you. I'm enjoying this.
It's great having you here. And would you like to continue?
You. Well, yeah, I was just looking at these patents, and I wanted to see which one allows them to transmit dreams and be interactive as characters in the dream, because I've written a book about my experience and about my development as a spiritual being. I had to write the story through that lens. I couldn't just write about the horror of having had to endure this degrading invasion into my life and the destruction of my life as a mother. But the dreams that I have are all pixelated. They have a different consistency or element to them. I'm just wondering if you can see where that patent is there. Have you ever come across it?
Yes. Nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. And the next one would be device and method for creation of emotions. And the dreams are actually, everybody thinks their dreams are like all night, but they're not. Your dreams are seconds, because your subconscious mind has no reference for time. So,
can I share with you my first dream that sticks out when I got put onto the program a little bit deeper? May I share just briefly?
Yeah,
it's
sure.
so interesting.
Go ahead.
Because so in the dream, I was on a grassy knoll, and I could see in front of me a young naval officer. He looked like he was from Princeton. I think isn't it Princeton, the military place, right, where they have these naval. They've got the immaculate navy blue.
It's right on the tip
trousers.
of my tongue, too.
And a black visor. And I was just hypnotized by this soldier. He just kept walking up and down with military prowess, and he was so exact. And I was just so much detail was going in. I was taking in the visor, his movements. And then all of a sudden, this thick fog descended. And as it descended, I got lower and lower and lower on the grassy knoll, until I was laying down on my tummy. And then inside myself, I had got this message, and I said, "Nobody's coming to save me. Nobody's coming to save me." And then within myself again, I had this message, "But I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right." And then as I woke up, I heard a man say, this is one of the first times that I'd experienced, and he said, "Only she could have a dream like that." And that was a very telling moment for me, because obviously I was being introduced to the brain science, and I was then cognitively aware that they could get into my dreams. And that for me, that felt very much like a standard dream sequence that they could play and project into my head. And from subsequent scientific studies that I've seen regarding neuroscience, I know that in its most elementary form, that is, that was possible. And I've always found neuroscience fascinating. I mean, for me, being targeted has really, in conjunction with my own personal passion for mind and behavior and psychology, has also been about the 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 ability to govern and see that my thoughts would create an emotional, a chemical experience, that I became aware of. Am I making sense? Are you following me? So that
Most
it became
definitely.
like,
Oh,
it,
yes.
it's like like a discipline. I could feel myself going into fear, and I'd have to bring myself back and actually experiencing like the chemicals spreading out from the brain into the body. And because you become the observer, you're in an experiment, whether you like it or not. That's, unfortunately, that's what's going down. And so, but then you become like a little scientist yourself, experiencing yourself and your brain, and understanding how incredibly important it is to keep yourself tidy, to keep your thoughts tidy, to brain and train yourself. And I think that's another message that seems to be very pertinent for me to share with people. We have to become, it's so tragic. I remember you telling me that you cried like a baby, and my God, have I cried, for this fate. Excuse me.
I
It's the
didn't.
worst. It's
I,
the worst fate that can
yeah.
befall anybody. But in that, there's an opportunity and an invitation for you to develop and grow. And become a better human, become a better version of yourself, and know thyself better, and understand your brain's chemistry, and be therefore sort of caught up in the awe and wonder of creation, as opposed to the horror of someone trying to destroy you.
You sound a lot more together now that you're home.
Thanks, Frank.
No, really. Since you've gotten back to the UK, you sound much better
mm,
than you did. Do you agree with that? Huh?
uh I don't know. I take it. I own it. I think it's maybe it's just part of the journey. Um, yeah. It got kind of scary being in Mexico. Things really went bad for me over there, and they were getting a lot of help from a lot of really powerful people. So, yeah, it seemed pertinent to come back home. And but maybe it's just because I'm an OG now, darling, like you. It's a couple more years since I've had to tolerate being tortured every day of my life. And in my night times, I'm I'm really, yeah. I mean, is it uncomfortable for me to say how bad things are? It's terrifying being me. And there's nowhere for me to run. There's nowhere safe. But again, you have this. Again, yesterday, I had to uh, reaffirm to myself and seek out spiritual sustenance. And because you get so beaten by these people that you start to believe that this is really the end. And like you it's like you're dead. You just want to die. Like a deer when it's in the hands of a Native American. You just sort of like surrender, because
Well,
it just
Sasha,
seems like it's fated. They're just hammering you,
you
tearing you apart. I'm getting disfigured. They're attacking my eyes. They're attacking my breasts. My breasts have fallen. They're using a phaser technology with something called anaphase or araphase. So it's like it's pulsing, and it locates me, and then it gives them Doppler radiation ability to go into my body to attack my veins, my muscles. And so they've been haranguing me through voice to skull, saying that they call me the bag, or bolsa in Spanish. So basically, my stomach muscles have all been broken down. So my stomach's hanging.
oh, question.
My breasts have fallen by about, I don't know, about an inch. I'm not ashamed to share that on here, and they're attacking my eyes, my mouth, my smiles changed. They attack my teeth. I mean, it's just like all out war. And anything that they can do to degrade me. um so like the humiliation part of it for me is massive. So I was a very fit older woman, and they've done everything they can to destroy that, so that they can take images of me from within my home and photoshop them and then put them out onto different sites. They seem to be coalescing themselves to all sorts of different gangs. And whenever I go out, if I dare to go out, then they shame me. And it's all part of a rich tapestry of disgusting behaviour in order to bring me to suicide.
That's their ultimate goal right there, to bring somebody to suicide. But I'd like to
Yeah.
review just a couple of the attacks and things that they can do. One of them
Hmm.
is to shorten your breath. And
Oh, really?
they can shorten your breath and make you out of breath after taking 3 steps. And
Wow.
I can walk miles, but I
Hmm.
caught them once. Uh, it's the whole reason that I found out. I started to get out of breath before I climbed over this really tall snowbank. And then I was fine. Then I went upstairs and, sat down on the couch. And then I was out of breath again. So I said, what the hell is wrong with this?
Wow.
So, yeah, that's back when they were just learning how to do things.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the ability to hack the the human ecosystem, the brain, and all of its physiological functions is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
Well, another thing
It's
they do is they throw these little snaps at you. They
mm,
are separate. There is an impulse and there is a noise. And the impulse and the noise hit you, and the noise itself can be loud. It sounds like amplified um, fingernails snapping or clicking. And
oh,
yeah, it sounds like someone is doing that, only really, really loud. And this is what Dr. Catherine Horton had, only she had, I would believe, the machine gun version of this.
oh
And
wow.
but what I couldn't understand with her situation is she could hear these things hitting the tinfoil.
Hmm.
And so that would have to be some really bizarre beam to be able to go through the wall and then rematerialize and hit the tinfoil. So I was amazed by that. Go ahead,
Mm.
Sash.
No, I was just contemplating what you were saying, actually, Francis. I haven't heard about uh, Catherine Hall for quite some time. Is she? How is she? Do we know?
She has come to the States and she married William Binney.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure where they live, but they are getting on happily, I assume.
Good. And so she's gone a little bit more quiet, because I would imagine, like for all of us, when I was co-hosting the show with you, we had perps on there, and I became quite rebellious because it's just in my nature, not helpful. And I would say that my targeting got worse, during that time. But I think it was maybe just in conjunction with had been happening anyway. But I'm sure. I think that Catherine was going through something like that, because she kind of pulled out. She was involved in some big law case, wasn't she? And then she pulled out. She was working with uh, the what are they called? The people in Belgium, Akata.
Oh, this is something, her case was totally separated from that.
Mm.
They wouldn't let her
Ah,
back in Sweden. So she had to, Switzerland, I think. Sweden,
uh-huh,
Switzerland? I can't remember. But
uh-huh,
she ended up going to Germany.
ah.
Yeah, I think it was Switzerland. It's
Blimey. I mean, I think what I know, what I also, that's interesting bringing up Germany because some of my mobbers have started learning German. And I know that they're from London and they've started talking in German when they've placed themselves in restaurants. And what this program is to me is the Stasi and the Nazis never went away. This I would say, especially what we see going on with the World Economic Forum, I would say very much that this whole program is a Nazi mind control program that was developed all of those years ago during the Second World War, Operation Paperclip, and then it's just filtered through the CIA and across the globe. Wouldn't you agree, Francis?
I certainly would, and I would like to say that this is rooted in hypnotism.
Yeah.
The subliminal commands are
Mm,
all hypnotic. It's based in hypnotism, repetition,
mm,
closely following your habits. So, what they
mm,
try and do is if you're making a cup of coffee, prior to it, they will say, I order you to make a cup of coffee, or I order you, or you will do this, or you will do that. And they're trying to get you to blow up, But I just think it's funny because I'm not going to do something that somebody else says like that. They can, make all of the orders that they want, but it doesn't do
It's
much for me.
the other night, Francis. I was actually sleeping for a little while before they woke me up with this piercing sound, and I was arguing with one of the mobbers, and he was like, "Sacha, when you argue with me like this, you don't do yourself any favors." And that's how I woke up, with him telling me off for not agreeing with him in my sleep. It's like so much brain entrainment when I do actually fall asleep. They're trying to modify me and direct me. I wake up with the girls. But one of them was telling me that I was fat the other day, but they also try and order me about. And uh, I did this thing the other night as well, where this man, he was shouting at me and being really irascible and difficult. And I felt myself frustrated, but incredibly patient. And I managed to subdue him. And then I cuddled him and it shut him up completely. So I took it, I kind of counted what he was saying. And I always think this is amazing when you come back from sleep with these uh, genuine experiences of brain entrainment in your sleep, because I don't always wake up and know what they've been doing to me. Do you know? Of
Right.
course not. There's so much, but then like during my time when I was in Mexico, they wanted me to eat meat. So I would wake up, or I woke up on one occasion, and they said, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm in a butcher's." And they said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Meat." I hate, I hate the butchers. I hate the smell of butchers. But in conjunction with something else that was going on for me physiologically due to my age, um, I was really needing some iron. So I started to eat fillet steak and Serrano ham, which was completely against my doctrine. I was like, my moral compass seemed to go right out of the window. So I was acting out of type, and they also stopped me from meditating. They stopped me from dancing. And cause I used to say, how come mind control doesn't work on me? How come it works on everybody else, but it doesn't work on me? But of course, I couldn't see that incrementally they were changing my behavior. Do you see?
Yes.
It's and I'm not negating what I said earlier on about being able to govern oneself and self-entrain. I think that's incredibly important You've done that, haven't you, Francis?
Yes, I have had to be very strong minded
Mm-hmm.
and super aware, which is actually you become anyway. But I am
Mm,
super aware of anything going on, especially
mm.
something that they are doing. And I recommend to any target to try and hold on to a positive attitude. Don't,
Yes, I hear you, and I will concur with that. And I'm going to admit that I've been allowing myself, although I'm resolutely positive, I've also been negative as well at the same time. You
oh,
know,
yeah.
and
Yep.
and so I had a wake up call yesterday and this morning, and I'm going to, pursue it. Pursue training my mind again. I think it's incredibly important. One of the things that I think is really important, especially in our community, but as a human being in general, is to observe what we say in yoga is a tapas, as a personal power. So I recognize that what we're all trained to do in our societies is look outside of ourselves and judge other people. And in that, it makes a toxic dependency of the brain upon neurochemicals that are against self and against the collective. And I think that we, as individuals, really need to recognize that and see, it's the devil's at work, really. And so I prize myself on that. I have the ability to see and recognize bad intentions in people. I'm always looking for the good, but I do observe this personal tapas of not speaking ill. I'll tell the truth about something, but I just wanted to share that because it's really helped me as a person to become to find an incredible strength within my heart intelligence, and to be a really genuine, sort of stronger. Uh, because our frequencies are blown all over the way, this way and that way. We've just given examples of how many technological patents there are out there to change your behavior and your frequency, and everyone responds to the brain's frequency. So if you can stay really present with people and not go into judgment, you get such a better version of that person. Do you know?
Right.
Um,
I just wanted to go into, I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm good at it.
no.
But I just like to mention the sexual attacks and the
Mm.
reasoning behind the sexual attacks. That is the strongest instinct that you have to procreate.
Mm.
So they understand that if they can master that, they can master the person altogether. Because,
Oh.
you know,
Interesting.
it's their foot in the door. So
Yeah,
stand
that's
up.
I never thought of it like that. Because I experience men having sex with me, and then in when I was in Mexico, and then I'd get phone calls in the morning after these really like dark sexual dreams, and men sort of like panting, and you could feel them inside your labia. I'm like, sorry to be so explicit, and like all of that is disgusting. And then I'd get a phone call, and the guy would say, introduce himself and ask me, sort of like a little schoolboy, if I was actually Sacha or not. And I'd say, yeah, it's me. And then I would put two and two together and recognize that that was the person that had probably had sex with me. So I felt like they were also farming me out as some sort of like sex toy or sex bot, but like a human sex toy. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. These people become addicted to this. They can't
Yeah.
put it down. Or if they got a beautiful blonde like yourself, and they can push all these buttons and, try and make a marionette out of you, uh,
Yeah.
they will. you know.
Yeah, invade you. I mean, there's not one part of me that hasn't been exploited, you know. It's like, and the strange thing is that the women that are involved, they're in a managerial role. In the way that the company that work on me, they have managers, and so when the manager comes into power, it goes about trying to terrorize me in all different ways, and it's always been very encouraged jealousy. So they get women that are really jealous, and then it becomes sort of like this fiendish hysterical abuse against me to try and tear me down because of their jealousy. It's a motivating force, and it's how the men control the women. It's so like you can hear the men kind of like chuckling because of the women's insane jealousy, and they really love that, because I actually believe that the soldiers, or all of the people that are involved in the experiment themselves, are experimented on themselves, so they're being brain entrained, like the
Yes.
soldiers
Hmm.
in Guantanamo Bay. They get corrupted by the power, and so whatever good person or a semblance of a good person that was once there is completely decimated by the ability to hurt someone with impunity, knowing that you're never going to get taken to court, you're never going to be judged, you've got the protection of your sick fucking gang. Sorry, swearing. It's so sickening. But also from a more scientific point of view, without getting so attached to it, fascinating to look at it as a modality for making soldiers that are capable of doing anything to anybody, regardless of what a good person they are. Hence, myself, I could say categorically, I'm one of the most sincere, good people I've ever met. Am I allowed to say that? I'm so glad I laughed then, otherwise I would have sounded like such an asshole.
Nah, you're wonderful, I think, and you do a great job.
Thanks, Francis. Yeah.
I give you
Crazy old situation, isn't it?
yeah, I give you a lot of credit because you have fought this basically on your own
Mm. Yeah, that's
until
true.
I think we met in one of our conference calls, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd made contact with a few targeted people, but it felt tenuous and a little bit fraught. I never engaged in the group activity. I did a couple of face group chats, but I found them quite hostile and difficult places. I didn't feel safe. I felt like I was talking to more perpetrators, if I'm honest. Do you know?
Yeah,
Because they do infiltrate some of the, as we know, Francis, right? But yeah, it was great to get such a heartfelt connection with you, and when I would speak to the other TIs, it was interesting the way that you would respond and reflect back to me how compassionate I was towards people.
well, you are, and this is an area that I'd like to touch on. Compassion is
Mm,
something that you have to maintain. They're trying to
mm,
tear compassion right out of you, and they can't do
yeah,
it.
mm,
If it's not
yeah.
there, it's not there. But if it is, they can't take it away. Well, Sasha, what do you think? I think it's time to bring it home. What do you think?
Yeah, let's bring it home, brother.
Okay, I would like to thank the listening audience. I would like to thank Sasha. And I would like to say good night from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen.